You gotta get your your blocker going.
Yeah, I have one, but it's...
I hate every time when you have which one do I use? On my phone I use Blockada, which is really great. I don't get any kind of like, you need to turn this off.
It sounds like a type of cheese.
Yes, right? It is a good, yeah. It's also a good cheese.
That's ricotta.
A Blockada is like a mobile blocker, and then I think I just use ad blocker or whatever, like the...
I'm thinking of all the ways that Urban Dictionary could take blockada and turn it into something different.
It's where you lay back.
Yeah. Legs in a pretzel shape.
And someone poops
something.
And they block this particular
I'm just thinking of a way of like introducing cheese into the whole act.
Oh, yes. Yeah, how does the cheese... You know, one of my good friends in high school, his mom told me that as a prank, she took, oh man, what kind of cheese was it? Like some smelly cheese. I don't remember exactly what kind. And she stuck it into someone's AC, like in their car, into their vents.
No.
And in the summertime, and just waited for it to melt. And so then when they blast their AC, it just reeks of this nasty smelling cheese.
Dude, that will mold.
And it never went away.
Well,
I was like, I mean, if you did that and somebody actually found out, like they could sue you
for sure
for a new car almost, or like a whole new system in there. But you know, hey, the things you get away with when it was like 1978. 1978, you could do a lot of things to a lot of people and nobody would ever know because there was no camera.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's the big thing now, is that there's eyes, digital eyes everywhere.
Yeah, which in some respects is a good thing.
Yeah,
because you know you can't just like diddle someone anymore without thinking there might be a camera. Well, like I just put up I'm way behind the times, but I just put up a Ring camera at our house.
Okay,
and then it came with, like, I bought it at Costco, and it came with a like an indoor cam. And I had this spot. I was like, well, I'll just put it up. It shows the whole living room, and if we're ever gone, then we have something of it. But
right.
I mean, why not? You know, I have babysitters and stuff come over, and you're like, I mean, yeah, not the worst thing. Not that I'm never planning on just being like, boop, let's check out what they're doing.
Well, we have a camera inside, as well as we have cameras around the entire perimeter of our house. But like when the babysitters are over, which is very rare, we'll tell them, so like, hey, we do have a camera in the house, and like, so they know that like you can't get away with anything.
Right. Yeah.
You know, not that we are hiring babysitters in which
that you'd be scared
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of for them, I think it's also kind of a way to feel more safe and secure, that like, hey, we have cameras everywhere, we can see everything that's happening. So if there is an incident, like you know, we can get notified of it. But I mean, yesterday I was at work, and I had our Ring cameras go off because we had chip drop. You've used chip drop, right?
I tried. They never dropped anything.
Really?
But I have somebody.
Oh, that's right.
Tree trimmer like 4 doors down from our house.
Right.
Which is really a half a mile down, but 4 doors down. And I called him and was like, hey, would you drop chips here? He's like, yeah, we'll bring you the good stuff. Nice. So he doesn't bring me all the leaves and crap. He just brings me the good ones.
Well, if for those that are watching that don't know, Chip Drop is it's a non-profit organization, I believe, that essentially arborists, tree trimmers, and that sort can sign up. Essentially, when they fill up their truck and their wood chipper, they have to pay to have the chips dropped and disposed of. So instead, for people who are looking for chips, wood chips, or logs or things like that, they can sign up, and if you're in an area in which an arborist needs to drop their truck, they'll kind of give you a very, very small window of notice.
Is it like an hour?
Yesterday was 10 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, I got the email, and they said it'll be within 48 hours someone will drop chips at your house. So you don't know when the chips are coming. Who cares? You just like have a spot in your driveway ready for him, and you don't get to choose like how much you get. Like you have to take the whole chip load, which is fine because we have 4,000 square feet of garden back there.
How many yards do you think you got?
I got probably between 15 and 20 yards.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Last time we got just under 20 yards.
That's amazing.
Which is,
Maybe I should try signing up again.
That's,
see, you're in the city, so they do a bunch of tree trimmings, and then you're just like on the way and they drop it. Whereas me, I'm so far out, like that's probably why I didn't have luck the first time. But
honestly, there's a different arborist in our neighborhood probably every couple weeks, trimming something for somebody. But the ring notification went off that they were dropping stuff, and I look on the ring, and I just talked to them, and I said, hey, just mind all of the landscaping that I have on the side of the driveway. Like I've got driveway lights, we've got black mulch and everything down there. We've got plants and bushes. Make sure to stay away from that. It'll help me with cleanup. Just put it in the driveway. And what did he do? He lined the entire side of the driveway with all the landscaping, covered up multiple plants, covered up part of my yard, covered up lights. So who knows if there's damaged electrical lights underneath all those wood chips.
I'm sure they'll be okay.
But yeah,
that's annoying.
If you need free wood chips, though, it's kind of hard to complain when it's free.
If you need free wood chips, make sure you put huge signs and over here or be home, I guess, when they're. But be home all the time.
Be home all the time. Don't go to work. Just wait for your free wood chips.
Work.
But it's nice because we expanded the garden this year, and so we'll have wood chips to line all the walkways and everything, and it'll be really good.
Yeah, I used mine to make a huge walkway. I mean, like I don't know, 1,000 feet, like 400 feet worth of walkway that I did. Yeah, it was great. I mean, there's no way that I would have paid to do that.
No.
But because I didn't have to and just got it all for free, it's just my time. I'd fill up the tractor and go dump, which still takes a long time.
Yes.
I fill up a bucket of the tractor.
I'm just have you bring your tractor over. It would make quick work of all the wood chips in my driveway.
You're not the first person who said that to me.
You should just start renting it out.
Bring your tractor. Well, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I just listed my RV to rent my RV out, so maybe that can be all part of one thing.
I might have to take you up on that.
Yeah.
When I get a truck one day, because I'm assuming you're not renting your truck either.
No, but I would drop it at a campsite if it was within I think I was doing within 100 miles.
We were talking about going to the Highland Games in North Carolina in July. Cool. So I doubt that's outside of, it's probably not inside of your radius.
That's more than 100 miles. Yeah.
But no, that would be interesting because being able to take an RV out there.
Well, and we pay less than $200 a month for our RV for our payment. I was like, if we just rent this out for a weekend a month, we have our RV more than paid for.
Yeah.
It's like once you pay the website, or the website takes their cut, rvshare.com is what we're using. Once they take their cut, it's about $100 a night is what I make. Better than it's in my driveway and
not doing anything.
And if somebody wrecks it, then I get a bunch of money.
That's awesome.
I'll take the cash if that's what happens.
You should just start getting a fleet of RVs to rent out then.
I mean, people do that. I see it on there. I see the same person and they've got 2024 Airstream and they've got 5 Airstreams and they just rent them out. And I mean, you just have to have the upfront capital, but it's probably a relatively untapped market unless you're in a space where, maybe you're in a place like Seattle where everyone's trying to go there and then go to Alaska and do that whole RV thing. I know there's a big RV stuff there, but Michigan isn't a lot of people own their own RVs, but I think there's a lot of people that they're like, I don't want to take care of an RV, but I'd rent one.
Yeah.
For a week.
Especially if they're going to the UP or something like that.
Yeah.
They probably want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome to Cock Talk, the podcast.
Long intro.
We are going to, this is going to be kind of a little bit more of a let's look at what's going on in the world and talk about it. We've got lots of news articles and things to talk about. We really want to hit on what has come out about Tyson Foods dumping, 80 bagillion gallons of shit in the water.
Yeah, that's a pretty close number actually. 87 billion gallons of toxic waste, which includes cyanide, blood, feces, all of that stuff is just going into U.S. rivers and lakes.
Yeah, enough to fill 132,000 Olympic-sized pools.
Yeah, it's insane.
Wonderful.
And the article came out from Daily Mail, and if you've seen documentaries like Food Inc. and stuff like that, like you've already known that Tyson Foods, Tyson Chicken, like the housing that they have for their animals is absolutely disgusting, and the way that they do their farming. I understand, like, you're talking about a big industry. I think I want to say they're like the third largest in the world meat producer. And I think they are either first or second largest in the US. And you've got to understand, like, there's going to be obviously a very industrialized, factory type system for moving meat in and out. You have to be at that size. But it's hard to look at the way that they do things and then be able to eat Tyson Foods afterwards. If you've watched, I believe the documentary is Food Inc. on Netflix. It was done, I think, back in like, let's say 2013 or 2016 or something like that. But they have just these giant indoor barns where these chickens are, and there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of chickens, right. And the shoulder to shoulder, wing to wing.
1 square feet per bird, I think is what they do. Or
yeah. And so like they can't move. They can't move around, and then when the birds die on a regular basis, they sometimes get left in there for days at a time. Right. And so
because there's hundreds of thousands of birds, they can't possibly track them all and know where they all are. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's just really interesting. So there's already some practices with Tyson Foods that.
But Joel, what happens if I have a free range chicken? You know what free range? You know what they have to do? There's actually not really a like, hey, this is what you have to do. Here's the requirements for free range. The only thing is like they have to have access to the outside. So most of these things, they have a little tiny door that can open up, and it's got like maybe 10 square feet of outdoor for thousands of birds. And they say, see, they have access to the outside, so they're free range.
Exactly.
Like, it's all BS.
It is.
Pasture raised is much more like you actually have to have a certain amount of square footage per bird outside. And
yeah. But you rarely see pasture raised inside of any sort of grocery store, especially a chain grocery store. Like, and if you do, it's going to be very, very expensive meat.
I think a friend of mine told me he was like, yeah, we only buy the pasture raised, and like I was at a grocery store and we needed to get it, and he paid $10 for a dozen of eggs. $10.
$10?
I was like, why don't you call me? It would have been cheaper to just drive to my house 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
and scoop my eggs, but my eggs are pasture raised, so.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you find a local farmer, you can get pasture raised, quality eggs for $4 to $5 a dozen.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we've talked about it before, but the quality of egg, the taste, and everything is much, much higher. So find yourself a local farmer to your location that sells eggs.
Very true. So with regards to Tyson and this like just horrible practice of dumping a bunch of shit into the, into rivers and whatnot, I guess you got to ask, because I mean, there's a whole lot of poop that you got to get rid of. There's a lot of stuff that you got to dispose of, and at some point, you also have to go, well, we have, just the United States alone, we'll call it I'm going to call it a cool 400 million, because I don't think that the population predictions are correct, because we let in a lot of people that are undocumented, and those people are not accounted for.
We'll just add 8 million to whatever number that they say.
Right. Yes. So, 300, 400 million. I mean, there's a lot of people to feed, and you can't just feed everybody off of the local farmer. There wouldn't be enough. I mean, you and me know we can't get rid of our eggs fast enough.
Yeah.
Like, people just want them, and there's not enough to go around. So I guess, like, not just how do you feel about this, but like, what do we do?
Yeah. The biggest problem, I think, is that in the food industry, there's very little to no regulation on the dumping of these chemicals, especially with the blood and the feces. And even the regulations that are out there, when they are fined, if they ever get fined, when they are fined, these food companies make so much that they just factor that into the cost of doing business.
Well, it's like the pharmaceuticals. they factor in, well, eventually we're going to get sued for this drug, so we'll factor that into the cost too.
Yeah. So, I mean, you think about it. Think about it from a business standpoint. If we take outside of what the action actually is, right? And you look at just dollars and cents, which is what these CEOs of these major corporations are doing, both in pharmaceutical, both in the food industry. They're saying, hey, I have a product that's going to cost $2 million to make on a yearly basis, but my return is $10 million. Why would I care what happens with that $2 million when my return is $8 million?
Sure.
So to get
and
to
that's
the
a small scale of
exactly.
what it actually is.
To get to that end product of $10 million in revenue, $8 million profit, you don't care what needs to happen with that $2 million because your return is way higher.
In fairness, there are some people that do care though. Like
I'm sure there is.
There are people that produce food that attempt to do it the right way, and it's like there's like a sweet spot of, yes, you can be too small. At some point, like somebody who's small never wants to grow. Well, they're not a viable option for like, hey, we want to be able to provide food for a lot of people. And then there's that huge corporation that's traded publicly that like it's all about money. Like, how can we cut every bit of cost? We don't care about the people that are actually eating this. We care about the people who own the company and have a stock in our company. We're going to make them money. There's got to be a sweet spot of, hey, our company cares about people. We want to scale. We want to be big, but we actually want to do this the right way. And I think the biggest problem is that the government gives so many subsidies to someone like Tyson, where like, whatever they're charging for their food, if they didn't have government subsidies, they'd have to charge more.
Sure.
And the problem is the government doesn't give the same amount of subsidies for like organic, even produce, organic chicken. They don't give the same amount of money, I think, because it's deemed that, well, only a certain portion of people can afford organic or whatever. And so we're going to give it to the people that are mass producing a ton of food. I mean, it's almost like there needs to be this shift towards, well, let's give the people that are doing it right the subsidies, and like the people that are dumping a whole bunch of stuff into the water, they shouldn't be getting government subsidy. They're already making tons of money anyways.
So I guess my question is, do you feel like it's realistic from a business standpoint to be able to farm, to raise produce, or to raise beef, pork, whatever, in a regenerative way at a large scale?
I want to say that it could be done, but I think it would require so much money and somebody who cared so much. And I don't think that the people that have that much money care the way that that someone else with it. And I mean, I guess really maybe the real takeaway is, if everybody went, all right, I need to stop spending, maybe you can't avoid all of it. Like, I still go to the grocery, and we all still go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
There are going to be very few homesteaders. Maybe you're out there and you're like, nope, I literally don't go to the grocery store. I only buy from farmers. If you do, like, drop some comment somewhere let us know, DM us, and you can find us on TikTok and Instagram, Cock Talk the podcast. But we all go to the grocery store, and we all are going to be spending money on like mass produced things sometimes. But what if you took $20 out of your grocery budget and instead you spent it at like a farmer's market?
Right.
And then it becomes more simple to go, well, we're going to take our 20 and we're going to turn that into 50 and so on and so forth. And eventually you're, maybe taking money away from this and spending it on the local person. And like, we can begin to pull that shift away. They're always going to exist. There's always going to be people that like, they don't care.
Right.
So they just keep on buying. They either they don't know, they're completely ignorant, they don't care. And then there's people that are just, they're too lazy, whatever it may be.
I think there's a huge chunk of the population that wouldn't be able to afford to eat healthy. And that's what I think is the larger issue here, is that there is a large portion of citizens in the United States that can't afford to eat healthy.
I just don't know that well, okay, yes. But like, I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, I'm like in like a bad way right now, and I had to go to a food bank and get food, and that's how I've been like supplementing my food. And they're like, I've been getting like good steaks, and like they've been getting good food from these food banks. Really? So it's not as if they're just getting like refried beans in a can and having that for dinner. Well, like they're getting good, decent food, and they said that they get vegetables, like all of the produce. I mean, and I know that that's likely from a grocery store, but it's not like those people. It's not like you have no choice but to eat Spam all day long.
No, but I think if you look at people who are on SNAP, EBT, like food stamps, or individuals that aren't on food stamps, but they're at a very low income, that like, hey, I've got a family of 4 and I only have $500 to $600 a month to feed a family of 4. Like that is not a lot of money. Imagine. And you really do have to pull the old Dave Ramsey and do beans and rice for most of your meals. I remember growing up when we were younger, we had it in a really bad way for a while, and we were on food stamps. We were getting food from, the food banks. And I remember like having a half-eaten pizza delivered to our house for dinner one night. And it's like, there is no way that we would have been able to, and this was in, late 90s, early 2000s, when inflation wasn't like it is now. But even then, to think about, hey, I'm going to eat farm fresh stuff, for $500 a month. Right. That's just is not going to happen. So I think that,
it's not going to happen if you try to go and like go to a fancy farmer's market, but it could happen if you went to a farmer and you went, hey, I have 500, I have like $200 a month to spend on stuff. What could you do for me? I guarantee you that a farmer would be like, okay, we'll work something out. Because I mean, I'm thinking to myself, just with like eggs and the fruits and stuff that we have in the vegetables, like, and I'd be willing, if somebody is like, hey, guaranteed, let's say $100, what could I get for $100 in a month? I mean, you can get a shit ton of eggs.
Yeah.
And eggs, you can almost eat eggs exclusively for all your protein and fat.
Yep.
You'd be set. You just need some carbs.
Yeah. And especially if you're doing some farm fresh, then, obviously people with high cholesterol will need to kind of take into consideration a little bit more. But I mean, even with farm fresh eggs, you don't have the same LDL and HDL levels for cholesterol. So you would be eating healthier and help manage your cholesterol levels with farm fresh eggs. If you have
high cholesterol, you should be eating farm fresh eggs.
For
all
sure.
Fucking day long. Eat 10 a day.
Eat 10 a day.
And then go and tell me, yeah. No.
I would love to see the opportunity for farmers that have like farmers markets, farmers that have storefronts that you can buy directly from, being able to accept EBT and SNAP so that they can have, but I don't think that's going to happen because there's no one lobbying in the government for farmers.
For me.
Right.
Or for like, guy. For the farmer's market person, definitely not. But I mean, there probably are some farms that could take them, like a bigger scale place. There's a place out by us that like is a huge dairy farm, and they're not organic, but at least you look and you're like, well, I see my dairy is coming from that cow. Yeah. There's like, you can see what's happening there. So it's definitely a smaller scale, but I think they take EBT, but you have to be in the right place. You're also not going to drive 30 minutes. If you don't have if you're struggling for money, you don't have a lot of money, you're not driving 30 minutes for a jug of milk.
Right. And it's tough too, because if you are in a more suburban area, or more developed area, you would have to maybe drive 30, 45 minutes in order to get to your closest farm. If, even if it may not even be that short of a drive, it may be hours for you to get to your next closest farm.
Yeah. Hours would be, there's got to be within every major city one farm within an hour.
I don't know. I mean, if you look at
maybe not like New York City, maybe not Manhattan. But.
I mean, like city of Jacksonville is massive. If you're on the south side, or in central or middle of Jacksonville, you'd probably have to drive at least an hour before you get to a farm near you.
But you would probably be able to find somebody who has who grows, maybe has like a few acres that grows.
And right? I think that is where the U.S. citizen can really start to impact big food is if more people grew their own food to offset what they need to buy at the grocery store. Like, you want to talk about the most cost-effective way? Grow your own food.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, because then you guarantee you get organic food.
Yeah.
For like the cost of seeds, which, I mean, you can buy a packet of seeds for $3.
Yeah.
And you can get like months worth of food out of those seeds, depending on what you grow. Yeah.
And we've touched on a little bit about victory gardens that were big in World War I and World War II, but 25 by 15 square foot area, or 25 foot by 15 foot area in your backyard, you can feed or offset all of your vegetables and some of your fruits for a family of 4. For the year. You would not have to buy any more.
Or at least for your like maybe 6 to 7 months of growing season, you're guaranteed to have that, and then you can everything and you do that whole deal.
Yeah. You would be able to have fresh stuff. Like, I can't tell you what there are fewer things that I love more than in the summer walking out to the backyard, snipping some lettuce and a fresh tomato, and then bringing that in, being able to slap that on burgers or make a salad out of it. Like, like you're sitting there, we've got a huge, kitchen sink, the farm style kitchen sink, and we'll fill the entire sink up with just lettuce and wash it all and then bag it and then be able to give it to friends or sell it to people. And it's so nice knowing that, like, hey, that just got cut. Now I'm eating it. Yeah. I know that there's no chemicals that have ever been sprayed out there. I know for the most part how many bugs were on the damn thing.
Yeah, there's no appeal on it.
Yeah, right.
Or on the plus side, there's a few bugs in there, so you're gonna get. and the difference is too when you don't spray things. As some of this comes off when you wash it, but like when you're just out there picking it, everybody just like takes a few bites here and there. You get the B12 from the dirt just being around and things getting kicked up, and that B12, especially on like berries, like a wild berry, when you eat that, that can stay in your system for, oh gosh, I think it's like 6 months.
Really?
If it's not 6 months, it's a very long time. I have to fact check me on that, but that B12 is way more bioavailable, and your body uses it for a really long time. Yeah, it stays in the body.
Wow.
And that comes only from eating stuff outside, because it needs to have that, like, needs to have the dirt, needs to have just kind of whatever's out there. It can't be washed. You just got to eat it straight. And that's B12 is so important for so many of the body's operations. And a lot of people are really low in it. Like they say, people are really low in vitamin D. Well, vitamin B12 is equally as important, and a lot of people are really low on it because we wash everything, which fair. I mean, we also don't have polio,
right?
Because we wash it, or whatever, like different diseases and things, because we do wash our food. And on a mass scale, you definitely want things being washed. But when you're just out picking berries and eating food in your garden, you don't have to worry about those things. So,
well, you definitely want stuff washed, especially with all the stuff that's happening with like the Walmart strawberries and everything. Have you seen that?
I have not, but you know what? Why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We'll talk Walmart strawberries, and then we'll also talk the U.S. TikTok ban and give our thoughts on that.
That's gonna be an interesting one.
We'll be right back. Okay, strawberries. Walmart hepatitis A.
That's a headline for you.
Yes, and it has happened. I mean, Walmart's frozen strawberries has been found with traces of hepatitis A. Yeah,
it was Great Value, which is Walmart's brand.
The cheapest hepatitis A you'll ever get.
So frozen strawberries, even like the sliced frozen strawberries, the mixed fruit berries, all of the organic packaging came back with traces of Hep A from it was like end of January to just recently.
So if you bought any of that, get rid of it real quick. Probably bring it back. They give you your money back. But
because the other thing is Hep A is not killed off by being frozen, because this is frozen fruit. This is not the fresh fruit. And I've even seen some stuff actually recently from Walmart and Aldi. I'd have to find an article talking about their strawberries, about containing different things in it.
They're just their regular ones?
Yeah, even just the regular strawberries. But
I mean, I know they use a peel on most of their produce.
That's a Bill Gates thing, isn't it?
APEEL. Essentially it's a covering that keeps bugs out and, what have you. Like it's just another preservative, another like pesticide that's used on it, but it's considered to be all natural. It's fine to use, it's fine to consume. I don't know how much you can consume, but the difference is, if you spray a bunch of vegetables with pesticides, you can bring that home and you can wash it off. Like, not just by rinsing it with water, but you can use different things. Like I use a couple different things to wash off vegetables. One of them is just like a liquid that you can spray on there and you leave it on there and then when you rinse it, it takes them all off. Another one is, I can't remember the name of the powder.
You can do baking soda.
Yep.
I know that.
And you basically can rinse off the pesticides. A peel, however, cannot be washed off once it's on there. It will not come off.
Yeah, so this is straight from gatesfoundation.org. The purpose is to extend the shelf life of crops without refrigeration and protecting them from being eaten by pests by developing a molecular camouflage that uses cutin, which I don't know what that is, from plant extracts to create an edible ultra-thin barrier on the crop surfaces. So that's what you want on your fresh fruit, is an ultra-thin barrier on it.
That if you look, there really has been no real testing, no long-term testing on whether or not this is, what it's going to do to people eating a lot of it too. Like, this isn't just, oh, hey, I had a couple nibbles. This is, hey, especially like with the U.S. government recommending, here's how many servings of fruits and vegetables you should have per day. It's over 10 servings combined a day. I mean, that's a ton. You're going to be eating a lot of that. And now the one place I do know that doesn't use it on any of the manufacturer or the distributors that they get food from is Costco. So we've fully switched. Like, we get all our produce from Costco, almost exclusively. So
I
don't want it on.
I will say the caveat to that, at least in our experience, Costco fruit and veggies do not last long at all.
Because they don't have a whole bunch of shit on them.
Yeah, so that's you buy in bulk, you got to eat it quick.
Yes,
because,
yeah. The fruit, like berries, though. You don't expect your berries to last for like 2 weeks.
You're right.
But I mean, between myself and a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, I don't even know how much my wife eats in the berries, but like I sit down with the two of them and they will eat handfuls of berries at one time. So like we can go through a little box of like a 18-ounce box of blueberries in like 2 days.
So you're saying any supplier from Costco,
they don't use a peel? None of them.
Interesting.
Costco has intentionally said we will not supply anything with a peel. Now that could change, but as far as I know, that is the case. I know that there's other places that do it, but I know Costco exclusively doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, anything that anything that you get, any food that you get, my recommendation is don't trust the label, because FDA in itself is an absolute joke. The regulations, the ability to skirt regulations for food suppliers around FDA rules is so easy to do. The label manipulation from a psychology standpoint, from a wording standpoint, allows them to skirt rules like we just talked about with, pasture raised versus free range and things like that. It's very confusing for people that are not familiar with that. So the average consumer is going to see a green label with a farm on it that says farm fresh eggs, when really the farm fresh doesn't mean anything. True. And then they hike the price up, so do some research, check your labels. This is more than just hey, here's some crazy farm guys saying something. Like, you should be checking your labels.
One of my favorite manipulations of the labels was that if you used trans fat in your, and I think that they've since changed this, but at one point, if you use any trans fat in your product at all, like if it was less than 1 gram, you could say 0 grams. But you had to say the word trans fat on your packaging. So they would just put no trans fat. And because there was less than 1 gram,
trans
they
fat.
could say 0 grams in the nutrition. And because they used the word trans fat, they just put no in front of it.
Yeah.
They were allowed to. Because
That's insane.
technically there was no trans fat in the 0 grams, and they had the word trans fat on the packaging somewhere, so they could lie to you. Straight up lie.
Yeah.
No trans fat actually meant that there were trans fats inside of that food.
Well, that's like saying non-alcoholic beer. It still has some alcohol, but it's just such a small amount.
Yeah, less than 1%. You don't have.
I get it, but like it's still a lie. There's still stuff in there.
It is true. I mean, yes, it is true.
Let's talk about TikTok.
Let's talk about TikTok.
Now, I know this is a little outside the realm for a majority of our viewers, probably, but at the same time,
except for the ones that are watching this on TikTok.
Well, yes, that is true. But
or anyone that has a TikTok, or anybody that likes free speech.
Right, free speech. Yes, TikTok getting banned.
Yeah, and this isn't just like, hey, the FCC has cracked down on TikTok. This is like all of Congress actually agreed on something. You could pull up the actual vote, but it was the vast majority. I mean, Republicans, Democrats, and the president, they all signed off on this. This is not just somebody writing an executive order. This is now this is law in the United States that they're going to have
360 to 58.
Yeah, that was in the House.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So now it goes to the Senate for negotiations. I don't think it's going to happen.
You don't think it's going to happen?
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
After that monster of a... See, okay, why don't you think TikTok will be banned? Or what do you... Well, because really in reality what it is a force of sale. So they're saying either sell it to an American or we're going to ban it.
So let's set up why they're trying to get rid of it. Okay. They are trying to either get rid of it or force a sale to a U.S. entity because they believe that the CCP is using it for essentially data mining for different countries and especially in the U.S. Totally makes sense. The government is saying this is a national security issue, and that's why they need an American entity to take it over. I don't think it's going to happen is because, one, they already tried to do this before and it didn't happen. Two,
but it didn't get passed as a law. Now, I know the Senate hasn't technically passed it yet, but it's different when it's legislation because there's many times where I don't want to get into abortion, but the Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade because they went, well, this is just like another court case. And they said there were holes in it. So then they kicked it. And now it goes back to the states. Well, all the federal government has to do is pass legislation. And then suddenly Roe v. Wade, that doesn't matter anymore because it's legislation. Legislation is much more airtight than just some court case or an executive order. So it's more branches of government agree on something, it is harder to undo.
I agree with that, but I think what's going to happen is, one, I don't think it's going to go through.
Senate?
I don't think it's going to go through the Senate. The only way I see this actually going through the Senate is if all of the other things that are kind of aligned in that bill along with it take precedence over this actual TikTok sale. Like
money going to Ukraine or something.
Yes.
It's going to be dust in there.
But I'm more so saying it's not going to go through because I think this is going to set a dangerous precedence for freedom of speech. Because when you say you are forcing a sale because of a national security measure, I think that's going to give way too much power to the government to be able to use this as now case law in additional stuff moving forward. So if there's any company that they can just slap a label of this is a national security issue, you need to sell it to us, or get rid of it, that is going to set a dangerous precedent. I will also say that there has been some very interesting moving of investment and money inside of certain members in the government, for instance, Congressman Michael McCall, apparently over the past 6 months or so has purchased $1.15 million of Meta stock through his family's trust fund, which is very interesting because
we're going to ban competition.
Well, he's also the representative who authored the bill against TikTok. So you have someone that is directly trying to eliminate the competition to the stock that he has purchased very much of.
Yes, and that, I mean, there's a whole bunch of problems with people in Congress being able to do that anyways. I mean, we saw it during COVID. But you could also say, well, I mean, he has advanced warning. Maybe like you could go on one side and say he's trying to ban TikTok because he bought this stock, or is it TikTok's going to get banned and so he bought the stock?
And now he's setting himself up.
Of course. I mean, even you at home right now, you could go, well, TikTok is going to get banned, so it may be time to start investing into Meta, because if TikTok truly gets banned in 9 months, or now 8 months, then Meta's going to get a bump in the US at least.
So that brings up my next point, is why I don't think it's going to go through, because TikTok is filing a lawsuit against the US government.
Yes,
because of this. And because of the proceedings of filing that lawsuit against them, the original term was, I think it was like 9 or 10 months for TikTok to sell a portion back to a U.S. entity. Because of this countersuit, it is going to extend it exponentially for well over a year, if not 2 to 3 years.
Well, now they don't have to extend it. That's up to, because it's a, like the Supreme Court can go, yeah, like, well, you can continue with this ban, and then, you know, if it gets ruled that this is unconstitutional, then we'll undo it. They could say, yes, we'll give you a continuance, essentially, or like a stay. It's called a stay, where they go, yeah, we're gonna make it so that this doesn't go into effect until our ruling comes down. So I don't know that that's been, just because you file a lawsuit doesn't mean that you get to continue doing whatever you want until the lawsuit goes through.
True.
Now they could say, hey, we're going to wait on this ban until we decide what to do. But
let's look at it. Even if the estate doesn't happen and they don't do an extension on it, you're talking 9 months. What happens in government between now and 9 months?
Well, we do have one example of a country that's already banned TikTok, and you cannot get TikTok on your phone if you live in India. They have outright banned TikTok. What happened? TikTok went bye-bye. You can't get on TikTok anymore.
Interesting.
Now you can get around it, but I mean, yes, if you really want to be on TikTok, you will still be able to find a way to be on TikTok.
Yeah.
But it is not going to be a viable option. Like, why would you be on something? If you're an American, you want other Americans to see your content. Why would you create content on there when it's so difficult to get it? Like, people are lazy, and a lot of people are dumb. Like, people are gonna have no idea how to get it. They're gonna be like, oh, it went away on the Google store, on my Apple store, it's gone, and it's not gonna come loaded on your phone anymore. So people won't do it. They'll just go to Instagram, or they'll go to YouTube Shorts.
Sure. Yep.
Or someone else will make something, in a vacuum, something else is going to come. Something else will work its way through, and I don't know, Twitter adds in a video content or X, whatever. Yeah. That like TikTok may go away. It's something will replace it if it truly does get banned. But if it gets banned, it's going away. Like, you're not.
I see, but I don't think it's going to go away, because it also means displacing tens of thousands of U.S. jobs if TikTok gets outright banned. And a lot of people don't know this, but there are a ton of U.S. jobs that are created by TikTok. There is a headquarters in California, but there is
because there is technically a U.S. portion of TikTok.
Correct. Yeah. So that's something to consider. You will be displacing a lot of jobs, and I understand it. At the end of the day, the government's going to do what it wants to do, whether we like it or not, unfortunately. But I think that there's going to be a lot more consideration that happens, and not only that, but we also have an election. This is election year, so we could get to kind of the end of these terms, and then something flip if we get new people in the House, new people in the Senate, new people in a different party in the presidential seat. So,
but it was so all ones, like both sides agreeing on it. Like that does not happen. How often do you see the vast majority of both parties vote for something? I mean, that tells you, see, this is what I really think the reason that they want to ban it. So they've got, I mean, they have Meta in their pocket.
100%.
We know, I mean, Meta it was created by the CIA. Like, yes, Mark Zuckerberg made it. It's a CIA product. And we know, like, yeah, the U.S. is like, oh, it's not fair. They're using, TikTok is going to use it to data mine things. The U.S. Well, yeah. And you know why they don't like it? Because that's what they're using Facebook and Instagram for.
Yeah, and so now there's a platform in which they can't
someone
control.
else gets to use it. Yeah, exactly. And the difference, there's been a couple, especially, there's been a couple things that have happened in the world where Instagram has and Facebook, they have very much, I won't say shadow ban, but they've made it difficult to find the content for it. And TikTok pushes it out immediately.
Right.
And now, is that because they don't have American interests and they don't care about protecting America's their PR? I think so. And like, is that in China's best interest? Absolutely.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that China isn't using it for their own interests, but are we happy to also, Meta allow for things to be talking crap about other countries? Yeah, absolutely. But I think that TikTok everything's getting out there so fast at different events, different shootings, that they're like, we can't control
the narrative.
So we don't want this here. I'm absolutely, I mean, there's a reason why a whole bunch of the people in the elite class are voting to ban. It's not because of national security. It's because they don't want people to know what's going on. They want to be able to control what the narrative is. And so they're all coming together like, we can't have this thing out there that could hurt us.
Right.
We need to have, like, we've got Zuckerberg in our pocket. We have Google in our pocket.
Yep.
And they don't like the fact that there's some other
That's why they
entity
give
out
so
there.
much shit to Elon with X, is because he's not censoring anything.
Right.
They can't control Twitter anymore. Like it came out very clear with the Twitter files that there was tons of FBI involvement in multiple issues through Twitter, especially in the election last time around.
Did you see that Jack Dorsey left his company? I think he got the boot from his Blue Sky or whatever. Yeah, he left.
I didn't know that.
So I think he's trying to hook back up with Elon or something.
Listen, what a combo that would be.
Oh my gosh, so funny. But yes, Jack Dorsey, former CEO of Twitter. I guess I don't see how. I can see a path where it doesn't get banned, but I think they truly want it to be banned. I don't think this is like a ploy to try and negotiate. Like, I think it's either you're going to sell it to some American thing, and maybe they'll find a way to. We sold it to an American thing, like they'll skirt around it, but I don't know. I mean, the owner of ByteDance.
Yep.
And they were like, we would rather just shut it down than sell it, because the algorithm is worth way more than the network itself.
Yeah.
I don't know how that algorithm pisses me off. So
listen, as a digital marketer, I absolutely hate TikTok, but it's an absolute necessity for businesses.
Especially if you're trying to reach the 18 to 24 audience. It's it. Like, and now Facebook is making a huge comeback. It's like, it's the sleeping giant, because it's always been there. It's all like, has the most users by far. But for a while there, it got to be like, grandma and grandpa use Facebook.
Right.
Or like, yeah, our parents are on Facebook. Or like, I'm 38, so like, yeah, I've had, like, my Facebook account is 20 years old now. Oh, fuck.
I need to know how old mine is now. Jesus.
My Facebook account
20 years old
would have been made in 2024. Yeah. 2025. I made it, or no, sorry.
In 2004.
2004. I would have made my Facebook account in 2005.
I need to know how to look that up.
It was 2005 I made my Facebook account.
Jesus.
So yeah, my Facebook account's almost 20 years old.
Listen, your Facebook account is almost old enough to drink.
Like, that's so true. You go, yeah, I mean, I can scroll way back when there was like, it used to be your statuses. people would like, it would show your name and then you would just write like, is eating delicious fruit. Right. And that's all your statuses ever were like the things that you were doing or the things you were feeling.
Yeah.
Mark is feeling depressed.
Yeah. I remember some very, some posts that went out that were very much like, look at me.
Like I used Facebook sort of in conjunction with my aim away message.
Listen, we should just, you know what, in spite or in lieu of all of this information, we should just bring MySpace back. I know Justin Timberlake tried to get MySpace to come back a while back. Yeah. Let's make another run at it. We teach all these kids how to code. Dude. They'll have jobs coding. That's true. Because they learned how to code MySpace.
That's very true. You know, my very first podcast was on MySpace.
Wow.
Yep. I had and it did decent. You know what I used to just message people like, hey, check out my podcast. And there was no like, oh, you're spamming people. Nope. You could just message. And I would go into like these, it was a hockey podcast, and I would go into like these hockey things on MySpace, and I would just look at the followers, and I would just spend the day messaging people. And I would get thousands of listeners to these episodes.
That's crazy.
People, you know, like people leaving comments. Yeah, it was cool. But that was like the only way to market. There was no ads. There was nothing.
Yeah. Listen, if we could go back to MySpace, I would 100% make my background some sort of like dark, rainy forest, like emo thing. Throw on Hawthorne Heights as my song.
You would definitely be in my top 8. I'll tell you that. I knew MySpace was going down the tubes when they expanded it to 12.
That makes me feel so good, Mark. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Top 8. Wow.
How do we get? Oh, Facebook. We were talking like Facebook is making a huge comeback. They're like with the way that their pages work. Anyways, we don't have to get into social media, but like it is making a big comeback because you know it looks at what other things are doing and they start copying them. So it's kind of building things back up.
Yeah.
And I think that if TikTok does get banned, I mean they are definitely the ones who stand to gain the most.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those people will shift back over to Instagram, which is owned by, you know, it's all Meta, and by and large, you know, you're going to get that cross-platform contamination as well.
Especially Meta now, in you know, implementing AI into their platforms. I definitely think they're trying to really reestablish themselves, but it's going to be interesting to see how the next 6 to 9 months plays out for social media in general.
I don't think in 9 months TikTok will be banned, but I think they're gonna try.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna negotiate something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But it could also, you know, you want to talk about like a shadow World War III going on right now. I mean, this is like, it would make total sense if you believe that we're already in World War III. It's just World War III is not going to look like World War II because no one's going in with bayonets and bomber planes. We're going in with technology. Yep. Well, this would make total sense. Yep. Like, hey, we got to make sure that the spy in your phone is only us, not someone else.
That's, again, if you've ever read the terms and conditions for TikTok, if you download TikTok on your phone at home on your home Wi-Fi, you've now given it permission and access to your keystrokes on your phone. You get access to your phone in general, and then anything else on your Wi-Fi network. So it can literally, anything that you do on the internet with any device connected to your Wi-Fi network, it has information that it can pull from it.
Get a VPN.
Yep.
Although I did see something about VPNs where I'll have to pull this up for our next show. It was basically like, you use a VPN, great. Well, here's why it really actually doesn't work, and it's all still tracked anyways.
Well, that went out the window.
Yes. Anything you want to close the show out on?
I do want to, if we have listeners that know of, or if we have listeners that are farming meat specifically, if you raise cows, you raise pigs, you know, whatever, we definitely want to chat with you. We want to have we're working on bringing on more guests the next couple months. We have a few people lined up, which some really interesting things, like people that are dealing with issues having their farm in certain areas and dealing with government court cases and everything, which is going to be really cool to chat with them about. We have people that are doing a lot of urban farming in different parts of the country that we're going to be bringing on and doing some virtual sessions with. But we definitely want to talk with more farmers who are doing meat specifically. I want to chat, ask some questions, and hear from what their experiences are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, and if you're looking for a way to contact us, you can email us, cocktalkcast@gmail.com, or you can just go onto any one of our social media, Cocktalk the podcast, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Yeah.
Facebook, we don't really use it. Here I am like, Facebook's the next thing. Yeah, Facebook.
We'll have a MySpace soon.
Yes, 100%. We will be the first one on the platform. Yeah, you can just DM us, let us know, and we'll connect with you, and we'll figure out how to get you on the show.
Also, we're gonna be doing meat chickens soon.
Yes, we are.
We're gonna be doing meat chickens. This is our first run at it, Mark and I. So excited about that. And you can learn from all of our mistakes that we're going to make over the next 6 months.
Love it. Well, thanks for listening. Subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it, and we'll see you for the next show.